What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Dead Kennedys, and we're going to listen to a tune from their debut album, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. I thought this was like 78 or 79, but it's actually 80, which does make sense given the song we're about to hear and the timeline of American politics. Though I did just want to note that I have the double disc version, and the Dead Kennedys logo is always one of the best punk logos, and the picture of Jello Biafra doing a sort of monster movie hand and looking very menacing is very great on the second disc as well. Nevertheless, this is perhaps their most famous tune, and it's a song that almost made it into the mainstream, which is to say we're going to listen to Califronia Über Alles, which, if you didn't know, I've already reacted to the sequel song, We've Got Bigger Problems Now, more on that in a moment. But once the song came out, the Levi Strauss Corporation, they make blue jeans and ultimately are a pretty famous jean company. They approached the band and wanted to use parts, I think maybe the instrumental parts of Califronia Über Alles in a commercial they were going to make. But Jello Biafra, the lead singer and primary songwriter of the band, felt like that was antithetical to everything the band was about. And even if in the world of corporate multinationals, Levi Strauss isn't the most egregious actor trying to, get friendly people installed on foreign governments so that they can do third world style business in those countries, they were nevertheless a major corporation, and Jello thought it wouldn't be really appropriate to have a Dead Kennedys song used to sell jeans and to make money for a multinational corporation. So it didn't end up happening, and I do think it led to some disagreement, a debate, maybe even discord within the group at the time, but it didn't happen. And if it had, it would have gotten into pop culture and maybe the public ear a bit more, and it's debatable that that might have led more people taking an interest in the Dead Kennedys, trying to find their music, thereby discovering their ideas, perhaps thinking about issues and even politics differently. So I do see why there might have been a debate in the band, but nevertheless, it didn't happen and it was never used in a Levi commercial. But the song is a time capsule, if you will, of very late 70s and early 1980 California/US politics more nationally, and the reason that a later song, We've Got a Bigger Problem Now, is considered a sequel song, not only because it uses a lot of the same musical parts and the same chorus, more or less, but it's because of what happened with American politics. That is to say, Jerry Brown was a long-serving Democratic politician, primarily in California. He was governor of California in the late 70s, and he decided to run for president in 1980. Now, he lost in the Democratic primaries to incumbent Jimmy Carter, who then lost to Reagan. And obviously Reagan, also a California resident and California politician, but of a much more conservative and ultimately right-wing sort of nature, he became a two-term US president and imposed a very right-wing vision on US national politics for the following 8 years. So the reason that's relevant is because the original song, Califronia Über Alles, is about a hypothetical hippie-style dictatorship, because Jerry Brown, although more or less a mainstream liberal left politician, sort of had this hippie persona, and that his approach to politics was more like, open-minded and free love in the vein of like 70s hippies. And so Dead Kennedys and Jello Biafra, they're critical across the spectrum. Despite being genuinely, back then, a left-wing band, they criticized liberals and people on the left almost as much, if not more, than people on the right, in a sort of like, let's clean up our house first before we criticize the other side. So the song essentially imagines if there was a 1984 Big Brother, or even more ominously Real World, like Third Reich-style dictatorship built on Jerry Brown's philosophies and hippie persona. And so the song jokingly refers to suede denim secret police, which, if you weren't wearing the coolest clothes at the time, you would be the one who were sent to the concentration camps. If you weren't listening to the right bands, or if you weren't down with like hippie power, then you were going to be rounded up and taken away and gassed and so on. So again, it takes a horrible real-world historical phenomenon, the authoritarianism, totalitarianism of the Third Reich, and imagines it in the style of Pat Brown and California's, again, more or less mainstream liberal mixed with hippie ideas politics, and that turning that into a dictatorship. And because Brown was running for president in 1980, the idea was is that he was going to take that idea Über Alles, not just over the United States, but because of the US's influence around the world. So fast forward to 84, when I believe, maybe it was 82, it was within the first 4 years of Reagan's two-term presidency, they rewrote the song based on and critiquing the far-right Reagan presidency. And so the idea, we got bigger problems now. Like, we were joking about a hippie dictatorship before, now there's a much worse one in place. So again, I've already reacted to the other version of this song, but I don't think I gave the full story as it relates to this original Califronia Über Alles. So that's the background of the track. Sonically, it's classic Dead Kennedys. There's a bit of horror feel to it, which very much fits in with a lot of their songs, but it's also rocking, and Jello is, you know, shouting during parts of the chorus, so it's just vintage, classic, perfectly characteristic Dead Kennedys. Let's hear it. This is Dead Kennedys. The track is Califronia Über Alles, and it's from their 1980, I believe, debut album, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. So again, it's funny in the historical legacy of the group, because it's taking a shot more or less on their own side of the fence, so to speak. And again, We've Got a Bigger Problem Now is more what you would regularly associate with the group, taking a shot at right-wing governments and overt corporatism and politics and so on. But I do love the biting, scathing critique of this track, and ultimately I love that they revisited it and turned it into We've Got Bigger Problems Now, which is hilariously done in a almost Lounge Lizard style. Like, the chorus is still the same as what you hear there, but the verses are delivered in a, you know, Lounge Lizard singing in a, you know, hotel bar or something like that type of style. But yeah, I do love a lot of the lines there. You know, your uncool niece is going to be jailed because, again, she's probably not listening to the Grateful Dead or, you know, whoever the hippie band you want to put in there is, and, you know, she's not wearing the coolest clothes. So I do, oh, and the line about, like, now your kids are going to meditate in school. And again, that's more meditating is sort of like a hippie idea, or, you know, it's practiced by lots of different people and cultural groups and so on. But in the hippie world, it was, you know, not about praying to theistic entities, it was meditating and so on. And then in the sequel song, it's about mandating like Christian prayer in American schools, which is more of like a right-wing, you know, Reagan-style idea. So I do love this version, and I love how they adapted it in a maybe more serious context a few years later. So it's a classic. As I said, if people know the Dead Kennedys, it's either this one or Police Truck. And maybe Police Truck is actually, now that I think about it, retrospectively, the one Dead Kennedys tune that did make it into pop culture, because it was used as one of the songs in the original Tony Hawk game. Remember, you know those Tony Hawk skater, like pro skater games? The very first one on the original PlayStation, which is the only one I really ever spent any time playing. Police Truck was used in that soundtrack, and, you know, was therefore heard by a younger generation of skaters and punks and so on, and so I think has maybe eclipsed Califronia Über Alles as their most famous song. But ultimately, when I was first hearing Dead Kennedys, this is the one that people would always say. If I'd like, oh, do you know the Dead Kennedys? They're like, oh, didn't Califronia Über Alles, right? It's like, yes, but there are other songs that I think are even better. So, an absolute classic. Let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.